Emission spectra. A hot hydrogen gas gives out light. This light passes through a spectrometer and we get a spectrum. This is called hydrogen emission spectrum. When the spectrum of self-luminous source is taken, we get emission spectrum. Each source has its own characteristics emission spectrum. The emission spectrum can be divided into three types. 1. Continuous emission spectrum or continuous spectrum. It looks like this. Without any break, all possible wavelengths are present. The second one, line emission spectrum or line spectrum. It looks like this. Here in a dark background, there are definite sharp lines. The third one, band emission spectrum or band spectrum. These are all closed sharp lines. One end is sharp, the other end is fading out. Continuous emission spectrum. A high density hot matter gives all possible wavelength of light. It passes through spectrometer and we get a continuous emission spectrum with all possible wavelength without any break. A continuous spectrum contains all wavelength of light in a certain range. Hot, dense light sources like stars emit a nearly a continuous spectrum of light. The range of colors in the continuous spectrum depends on the source temperature. Example, carbon arc and incandescent solids. The second one, line emission spectrum. Hot hydrogen gas gives out light and passes through the spectrometer. We get hydrogen emission spectrum. It has a definite lines in the dark background. They have definite wavelength. Then instead of hydrogen, let us go with hot neon gas. When we check this light with spectrometer, we get neon line spectrum. It gives its own characteristics line spectrum. Third one, let us use hot iron gas. This gives its own characteristics line spectrum. Looks like this. It's iron line emission spectrum. So every individual source has its own characteristics spectra. Light from hot gas is allowed to pass through prism. Line spectrum is observed. The line spectra consist of sharp lines of definite wavelengths. This line spectra is due to excited atom. When the electron from excited atom return to ground state, they gives out energy in the form of light of definite wavelength. Such spectra arise due to excited atoms of elements. These lines are the characteristics of the element. Every individual element has its own characteristics line spectra. With the line spectra, we can identify what type of element it is. Example, spectra of atomic hydrogen, helium, iron, etc. The third one, band emission spectra. Hot molecular gas gives out light. It passes through the spectrometer. When we check the spectrum, we get the band emission spectrum. Band spectrum consists of several number of very closely spaced spectral lines. This spectrum has a sharp edge at one end and fades out at the other end. Such spectra arise when the molecules are excited. The band spectrum is the characteristics of the molecules. Example: spectra of ammonia gas in the discharge tube. Several other molecules gives out band emission spectra. Thank you.